Operator to 9S. Transferring coordinate data for the location specified by Resistance leader.
Nice, Operator. You work fast.
Mindless chatter drains energy, 9S. Please keep your comments reserved for mission-related topics.
Yeah. Have we seen these things before?
The Council of Humanity has a message for all of our brave androids fighting. Currently, our struggle against the machine life form is at a stalemate. This battle has raged for far too long. I am sure all of you find the effort grueling. But now is not the time to give up. Now, more than ever, we must forge on. Remember that several 100,000 humans on the moon want nothing more than to return to Earth. Glory to mankind.
Those council broadcasts are always so stiff.
Report. Mail notification received from access point.
Hey, name's... I hear you're guess that...
Looks like...
We wanna don't go...
Who opens a sealed gate with explosives? There's gotta be an easier way, right? This sand sure is slippery. Careful. We've got enemies approaching.
These machines are talking.
Yeah, I've heard from the Resistance that they've been seeing this a lot lately. Couldn't tell you why, though. think they even understand the concept of being scared?
What's with the weird-looking outfits?
I've seen that sort of thing when I was going through some old data. It looks like what humans used to wear long ago. Certain human collectives used to use face paint like that too.
你爆咪？
見到啊！
It's fine. Their speech doesn't mean anything. They're just emitting words at random. If they wanted help, why would they be attacking us?
Yeah.
陳芒，陳芒聽唔聽到啊？
聽到。
佢話啲紙皮模組會開放。
跟住，
跟住你話5嚿水係隻 game 定係啲紙皮啊？
自己買。
係咯，嗰隻 game 喎叫做咪 Nintendo Labo。
What's that?
Analysis. It is the ruin of a former human residential area. Large numbers of humans resided in such concrete and metal shelters. The structures were referred to by names such as apartment complex.
I wonder why they insisted on living in such large groups. Things must have been really dangerous around here, huh?
Negative. Living conditions were mandated by economic imbalance and a lack of space.
Man, humans sure are weird creatures.
Report. Mail notification received from access point.
Target confirmed. Let's get him.
Not this way.
I wonder what makes them choose these words.
These are android bodies.
Hypothesis. They were killed by local machine life forms.
What are they doing here?
Unknown.
It's like they were gathered here. There it goes!
They don't give up. Run. Run. Must run.
Multiple machines detected ahead. But what's with these android bodies?
Stay focused.
Child.
What is this?
Don't listen to them too much. stopped. Looks like we're safe now.
What the hell just happened?
I know. I've never seen a machine like that before. We better report this to command. Let's move to an area with better reception so we can contact command. Should be able to reach command here. 9S to bunker. Do you copy?
I read you, 9S. Go ahead.
Operator, we just encountered a pair of humanoid machines. We weren't able to capture them, but I have combat data ready for upload.
Understood. Ready to receive.
Hopefully you can get something out of it. Say 2B, I'm worried. Maybe we should return to the resistance camp to resupply and conduct maintenance?
No, we should.
Roger that.
Operator to 9S. Data upload complete.
Roger.
I also have an incoming message from the commander. Initiating playback. 2B, 9S. We've lost contact with several Yorha units that were on their way to the surface. Their black boxes are online, so we presume they're still alive. We've tracked the location of their signals, so I need all Yorha units on the surface to head over and investigate. End transmission.
I heard something about that back at the resistance camp.
Target location confirmed. I'm worried about the other androids. We should probably check this out as soon as possible.
Report. Mail notification received from access point.
俾打咯喎湯。
K 神輸咗咯，去咗敗。
Struggling as he does have a little bit more of the traditional Jade Druid build with Jade Spirits. Doesn't have some of that new tech that we saw with the Oaken Summons and the Ironwood Golem.
Yeah, that decision will likely be this matchup.
親黃橙。
You'd much rather have the additional armor gain as well as
上面係德魯爾。
It does make your deck a bit more.
佢兩個落唔落螢火？可以諗到少少。
Where your Jades can just get bigger than your opponents.
Right. So perhaps against any kind of late game like mage decks, for example, that might come into play, but that's not the group that they're facing. All the mage control stuff and all the other interesting shenanigans are happening tomorrow for Group C and D. Outside of that, but I mean, Tom, he's got the one. He's going to be having a much easier time facing against a Jade Druid, has a lot less defenses like that. He picks up the Firefly turn 1 here, and he's kind of weighing his options on how aggressive he wants to be from the get-go, or if he wants to just kind of take his time and play it slow here.
It does choose to go with the Firefly here, wants to hold on to South Sea deckhand for potential charge damage later. I think part of his thought process there was he could play the South Sea deckhand on turn 1, coin out Captain on 2, and really get the pressure on to prevent Doc Pone from being able to put up much defense. Here, though, by playing the Firefly, he makes this Wrath from Doc Pone pretty awkward because he certainly doesn't want to expend a full value Wrath on the Firefly, and cycling it doesn't actually even remove the body.
Yep, at the same time, looks like he doesn't have any other good play for turn 3. And I think what matters more than maybe removing this Firefly is having an actual play. So I'm in favor of drawing in this position.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and cycle that Wrath, try and find himself some ramp or just more defensive tools. And Tom's gonna take it slow. He wants to dagger up here and give himself the ability
親黃橙其實冇咩好諗。
not run any additional minions out just yet. And that the cycle did
有
find
牌
a wild growth.
唔係啊，佢有牌唔出喎。
Preferred to have cast it last turn, but accelerating his mana.
出晒啦。
螢火冇出啊，制螢火。
不過拎嚟配反夫嘅。
We have seen this happen a lot, where a player chooses to hold
咩
on to
con
pirates and then draws patches.
抗螢火反夫喎，90%啊。
唔係咯，我哋會
Captain is
第五
much
彎
less
先做。
impressive of an
哦，
option
噴
for
嚟。
Tom because it's just a 3/3 body rather than a 3/3 plus a 2/2 charge.
Well, Tom's not going to slow down anytime soon. He's going to actually start the action right now with he has a 6/6 Van Cleave, and then he has more Pirate synergy coming up on the following turn. And that's a good one because Doc's doesn't have a deck that's very defensive compared to the other Jade Druid lists.
Doc does have the interesting option of just doubling up on the branching paths here to power up his Spellstone to 6 damage to kill the Van Cleave. Now gain 12 armor and allow him to take
其實解到
threatening minion on the board. Does end up not using that
咁樣解唔解啊？唔費解隻反夫。
cards, but I think in this matchup
都唔係免費，一張法術石。
so I don't think he feels too badly about using it that way.
唔費解咗反夫，其實我覺得賺。我解唔解到啊？你打幾上？打8上。
Give Doc Pone some pretty good firepower going into Ultimate Infestation. One of the big questions is how to get to that point, because Rogue will play around the Ultimate Infestation.
Ooh, another deckhand for Tom. So the Captain plus one of these charging pirates represents quite a bit of damage, but you know, as you mentioned, that does go wide in the board and leaves him in a position where spreading play.
馬拉豪你咪 Sure 有得賣㗎？咩叫 Sure 有得賣？我而家等緊你啊！
有排啊！
你嗰啲都未到喎。
知
有排啊，但係咪 Sure 啊？個月都有咯，暫時。你係 Sure 我等啊。個個月都有，但係即係個月嗰個 quota 啊，同埋啲機都唔同，同埋價錢都唔同。啊，價錢都唔同啲啊！但係你而家嗰個1300喎。我一開始係2000幾，一開始係
2400啊。
唔止啊，一開始2000。2000機嘅原價係3000啦。 俾我諗下先啊，2000原價3000，之後減400，2600開始。然之後另一部就原價3800，之後減600，之後賣3200，呢個係一開始出嚟嘅價錢。之後我上次幫 Panda friend 買就係2200，買3800嗰部機。即係而家1300去買3800嗰部機。
即係你知唔知 W 係高通邊啊
？660高通660，
即係都係高配版嚟嘅。佢低嗰個係低嗰個630
啊，
等你啊！
下個月真係唔知啊，好難講。可能都係。差唔多
價錢唔緊要啊，一定有平啊嘛。
平過市面啦，一定㗎啦。
我都係算我唔買小米嗰啲。價錢問題都係。
你唔係小米 fanboy 嘅
？fanboy 都有唔 fan 嘅人。
唔係咯，屌嗰陣有部小米 5S 拍咧，3000蚊減到1200蚊，唔記得咗買。一睇嗰陣已經賣撚晒。有一部買都買撚咗啲。
唔冷靜喎，Tom 做咩解啊
？Twitch 直播緊啊。
係啊。
你呢啲窮人係咁啦。
手機唔ต้อง咁貴啊。
咪咯。
買 iPhone fanboy。
我已經打開咗個後門俾中國入。
iPhone fanboy 先話貴手機啦，其他都冇乜特別。
The Druid relies on damage-based removal. Those big buffed minions can be difficult for him to deal with if they come down before the Druid is really able to get going with infestation.
世界賽係選出嚟定係打戰績嚟
？This guy's toast.
Remove a clean amount of scarabs onto the board here for Tom. Should be able to take out 3 very nicely. Set up for a bone mirror with a similar spread on the board. You know, we don't really talk about branching paths used for +1 attack Kibler very often, but in this scenario, it's actually looking not too bad if you want to snipe out those Sarah Knight chain gangs on board.
Yeah, I love the use of branching paths that way. Doc does have the opportunity to potentially play the Jade Golem as well and get those buffed up, but I think he may be considering wanting to use his hero power this turn to pick off one of the other minions as well. He does decide to go with the Jade Spear here, and yeah, he's going to have a relatively threatening wide board here. He just goes for the +1 attack. Going to pick up 1 card. His hand is a little bit awkward. You know, the double infestation could put him in a little bit of a rough spot. Here's the Cobalt Scalebane Tom wished he had a couple of turns ago, and now yeah, he doesn't have necessarily great trades here into the big board that Doc has built.
Well, he does have the full trade if he bone mirrors, let's say, the Flame Elemental and overtrades with the 3/3, then he has a couple of 3.
Right, he has trades, but he doesn't want to be traded. He wants to be pushing damage.
It's true.
The onus is on Doc to end this game because, or rather on Tom to end the game, because Doc is the one who has a handful of 10-cost spells. If Doc gets a lot of time to continue deploying these without taking too much damage, that is a huge draw for Doc here. The Wrath able to take out the buffed Flame Elemental. Hero Power able to take down.
輸咗啦，Tom 可以撳投降啦。
That has put Doc in a very solid position, getting into.
下彎10完，投降10投降。
And no second minion play here available for Tom. Quarter Creeper is very expensive. Also, you know, you gotta want to get the damage, but Fandral has
冇嘢好諗啦，一下撞落去上龍，其實係諗緊撞唔撞嘅，冇懸念撞落去。換把刀。
Jade Druid deck here, but it would have been incredibly
仲有
strong
困因
if it had not been removed here.
冇腦嘅。
Still, we're going to see a 7/7 into a 5/5 into draw 5 into gain 5 armor into dance 5 jigs. Did I miss anything?
咁中溫呢隻應該
You pretty much covered it all. What can't this card do?
都啱嘅。
勁喎呢隻其實077喎。
Okay, backstab. Lets him activate the Vial Spine for cheap, and that lets him play a quarter creeper.
我依
Doesn't get, I mean, he would have to give the scale bane for a full clear, but I think at that
佢
point,
落晒冇牌。
投降啦，係咪？
Rogue does not.
係㗎。
輸咗啦。
And I feel like you need the attack buff from the scale bane here too.
Right.
I feel like you need to be.
俾人 counter 冇計啊！
They can't just sit back and use all the
So
cards.
many option 其實已經輸咗。
Looks like Tom doesn't want to use the backstab here though. He wants to just clear.
可唔可以留背刺啊？睇唔透。
And yeah, this is really slipping away.
佢一開波留背刺。
而家
Pretty much on Elven Minstrel as the only way he can get out of this spot here. Dark Pone just has too much.
佢真係留咗喺度。
Draw differential. Dark Pone's drawn twice as much as Tom.
佢係咪都死一隻㗎啦？
我哋打面場傷害啊！
係咪輸咗啊？其實 Tom
輸咗啦。
第一鋪咯。
我而家先知係閃電狼。
好耐啦。
我而家係佢啱啱條龍唔會換。
到底而家佢係諗緊啲咩咧？
諗緊點樣羞辱對手？
我已經唔理個場入面，我係諗緊嗰個圖係諗緊啲乜嘢？
諗緊點樣收入佢？
點樣羞辱 Tom？
你如果係 Tom 咧？
我 Tom
會撳投降咯。
我係 Tom，我係 Tom 嘅話就諗你仆街咁味啊！
啲選手心口好嘅，不如輸一鋪就怕。又唔係輸咗個 match 佢就算呢度真係輸晒咧，都可以打大部。
大部有冇話乜鬼嘢連贏2次啊？有得拎冠軍㗎啦？
我啲小組啫嘛，而家。
街霸唔知點解個敗部係咁樣嘅。
要贏2次先可以贏個冠軍嘛。
係啊。
咁正常啊！
我真係唔明點樣嗰啲規則嚟。
咁你敗部啊嘛。
喂，解到喎。
嗱，背刺留咗就係背刺喺咪度？
咁 Tom 要贏街。
贏條春啊！一個揮擊死晒。
係咪未來人嚟啊？咁快見到嗰隻嘢？
咩嘢啊？
個4/2咯。我解到啊嘛。
嗱，佢而家 end turn 啦。
應該快過你嘅。
而家開到，而家到對面啦。
揮擊投降。
揮擊完投降。
揮擊添啊！
啱啱唔使你唔睇到佢拎張揮擊，好似係一定揮擊。
唔係啊，我知，我就想 test 個 delay 啊。
而家落完無妖王啦。
等我 refresh。而家到手啦，無妖王。
落咗啦。
嘣！
佢閉目養神緊啦，而家開眼啦。喂，有救喎！
開咗眼，屌佢啱啱合眼啫喎！開眼。
技好緊。
唔撚掂喎，
係我隻撳頭，呢張勁喎，可以偷張咩翻嚟咧？我都諗唔到。
偷殺又加殺啦！
唔會放咯。
會放嘅喎，吹咗。
唔會咯。你呢個唔知師神幾多個版本之前嘅事嚟嘅。偷攞張無妖王啦。
我玩大木，成日都偷到拉閘。我有次偷完之後咧，加一個紅物，就去斯巴魯馬嘅，我即刻斷
鳩。我偷親都係安東尼嘅。
哇！佢唔用瘟疫咪解唔到咯。
偷咗先諗。
對咗場面先。佢消失嚟嘅其實張。
係脆咗。
你會加隻2日啊？
搬加2日啊，跟住解埲牆咯，唔係點都過唔到。
快好撚多喎！
唔係都未做，而家先做啫嘛。
誒點解都有得77嘅？
咩77啊？
見到佢寫77啊！
邊度111邊度77啊？
佢話攞隻象啊，隻巨獸可以整77，因為人哋77啊嘛。
係咯，嗰隻大笨象我見到77嘅啫。
我冇望到。嗰啲爆牌嚟㗎。
我唔怕，唔係唔會有5啊嘛。開出嗰隻零post。
呢種屈機嘅，如果你燒嘅法術多過5點，
一張 boss 成法術就變0 boss 嗰張牌。
咁勁，
可以配合資寶即刻可以出2張。
哇，多44喎，屌！
但係其實都輸咗，有脆肉6環脆，最親和仲未出到嚟啦。好無環脆啦。可唔可以正式咁投降？
未輸
晒喎！屌，有呢個清，望下邊個都冇晒牌啦已經。
有脆肉
但係冇牌啦嘛，如果佢真係出嚟
我有2張資寶啊！
細3張落去，再細3張落去。
係喎。
你見唔見到有資寶啊？
唔識㗎喎真係。
炸雞勇者都救唔到啦！
你見到炸雞啦？
已經咁樣投降添啦！
我見到湯面贏咗咯。
你係咪你嗰個平行時空度？
喂，炸雞啊！你鳩 up 定點啊？
佢早都話快咗咯。
咁撚多咩？以為你鳩 up 嘅啫喎。
2.2聲，
誇張啊呢個。
Doc is taking names game by game and he's looking to add Tom
都唔知真貨定
6029
假貨嚟嘅。
真嘅啦。
我打
做乜嘢啊
？Canada. My all-time favorite card is for sure Dirty Rat.
Well met.
I'm sure it drives people crazy, so that's why I love that card. And
有
the
動
name
畫嘅點解？
it's Dirty Rat. My favorite food, I like meat, stew, roti, ossobuco. Poutine is great also sometimes, but it's not my favorite. But it's a great one.
煮碌棍嘅做乜鳩啊？
Likes poutine, really nice guy. Yep, must be from Canada. Checks out. Doc Pone is up 1-0 over Tom 60229. Also, you know, Canada is a very underrated country when it comes to Hearthstone.
咁阿 Tom 嗰條片有冇睇啊？
People look at Ukraine or just the CIS region in general. There's been
整條 Tom 咪應該唔通要先有？
佢哋兩個都係 ban 特使啊。
generally really strong countries.
係咪木先啊？
但係一樣嘅喎，佢哋4副牌，即係4個都係個值。
係咪贏都要繼續用德魯爾啊？
贏唔使用。
輸咗就要繼續用啊？
可以轉㗎，可以轉嘅牌，冇㗎，可以揀其他牌。但你始終最後都係要贏嗰個盜賊先嚟都係。
咩叫贏嗰盜賊？
即係你始終個盜，你個盜賊呢個職業始終都要贏一場。
哦，即係贏咗就唔可以用，未贏都可以用。
贏咗就要用下一副牌咯，或者你3副牌贏晒咪贏。
我都係冇乜睇比賽，睇親都係精華。
你精華咪比賽劇情。
冇乜睇嗰啲比數嗰啲嘛，規則嗰啲。
我而家多數都係咁嘅，贏咗就唔使用，贏咗就換下副牌。
剔一剔㗎嘛。
佢又收牌期咯，其實咪真係贏。
親王踢最勁係咪親王暗閃暗閃啊？
because it's a slower game, it allows them to have bigger swings with more higher value cards, as long as they're.
但係你親王暗閃你就冇手牌㗎，成堆咁啊3張牌。
親王有冇影響手牌啊？定係排隊啊？
淨係排隊啊！手牌唔會乜嘅。當嗰條係咩㗎？
兩回合喎。
垃圾。
To have gotten their damage in, so that the burst from Leroy is really relevant. So all of these make the fact that Tom is missing pound in terms of the impact of that 4 drop.
但親王拆都冇排出。
Meanwhile, Doc picks up another late game dragon there.
仲要拉扎綠木嘅真係，可以咁投降。
A card that if you're ignoring and you're not even accounting for, can add a huge roadblock if like you don't have the Biospine Slayer. I've ran into a couple ZP dragons.
又冇 con 喎，有 con 就可以跳5費，我記得4費都冇嘢出。
The nuisance to me before.
I was hoping he'd take Temperance there, just because he can. It's such a great highlight reel card.
Yeah, but if he's a man of the people, he would take Temperance. But if he's a man that wants to guarantee double up on money and a spot in the quarterfinals, I'm taking Sleepy Dragon every time.
I think a big taunt is probably better than a chance to just die instantly.
Unit pump control has been assigned to
A bone mare picked up for Tom here, and this is really not what he's looking for. You know, he has a fistful of the high end of his deck. So many of the most expensive cards in this deck, and just gonna dagger the face once again. This is absolutely not the position the Rogue wants to be in.
Yeah, this is looking more like the old Miracle Rogue days where you had nothing to play for a long time and try to go for big power swings on the board.
And now Tom even picks up the Shadow of Death, which gives him an answer to a Scalebane that can come down next turn.
That's right. Swashbuckler. Could toss that in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. More resource generation, just an additional minion that Tom may have to deal with.
Treasures.
Finds Zero, which is even more resource generation, which is a lot of what this priest deck wants to do.
Treasure.
Scalebane, of course, supposed to get provide a roadblock for Doc Bone, but the Shadow Word Dead, as you mentioned, very useful at this spot. And the longer the game goes, just should favor Doc, as he has a lot of powerful late game. But I mean, I look at the hand of Tom, and it's like that's not that shabby of a hand to have as you start entering the mid stage of the game relatively unscathed.
It's true, though he is under pressure now. When the priest is able to get significant pressure on the rogue, especially with a board that is distributed across multiple minions, that could be tough for the rogue to come back from, because every amount of damage you get in on the rogue is less damage you need to eventually burn them down with. And also, the rogue just doesn't answer wide boards very well. They're great at dealing with individual big minions, but not so good at dealing with a board of 4 minions spread across like this.
Tom has an opportunity to use Biospine Slayer here and shut down the card draw source from...
我喺台面撳咗頭殼。
比賽啊，你嗰啲打天梯。
Second is actually a particularly nice draw here. It does mean that Tom will take up the Radiant if he does use the Biospine as well. And the Radiant plus Lyra is potentially really scary. I was actually going to mention that I think Doc Bone's choice to play the Radiant there was one that I liked, because it does put a lot of pressure on Tom. He's going to go ahead and just leave up the Acolyte though. And that I think is not really a big issue for Tom right now. He has no small minions, he just has his handful of
啲人係 expect 佢殺嗰個斧頭。
It's most likely going to be put out there only for combos.
我卡達唔到度喎，之後到拉閘。
個人覺得佢咁多牌咧，就唔需要殺嗰個。
Is really nice on this wide board here.
That works really nicely.
He can actually give. Yeah, he can't quite have any of his small minions survive with plus health attacking into the.
These machines are heavily armed. We'll regret it later if we let them escape.
But I imagine we'll see.
So let's take them out.
The non-acolyte.
Tom 嘅慘。
卡都滾下快啊！
佢睇流，冇睇呢啲。 哇！呢個真係好啊！超加歪頭嘅。
Pretty much the entire board, just leave the Biofine player that cannot get through the health of the Drake. It's also just a potion right that can do very similar impact on this board, though obviously not leave the big body behind.
I like this. Use the coin to see what he draws first. Picks a Potion of Madness, and he also has maybe some ways to pick up really powerful cards like Shadow or Pain. Interesting. Leading up the Quarter Creeper.
Tom 贏嘅機會係零，佢自己都會心微笑㗎。
Yes, Doc really values the power of his board.
All right, Psychic Scream there is actually pretty huge. It means that even if Tom is able to assemble a big board like for instance, Patches plus Bone Mare allows him to keep the minions up, but Psychic Scream is there.
真係慘。
Gotta kill the Lyra, of course. And does go face here. I think that the
贏嘅機會係零啦。
真係贏嘅機會係零。
The threat of silence.
Right. And also just because the threat of Lyra. Right.
肯定係有人幕後操縱嘅一個裁決。
齋部説。
飛龍又可以換多隻。
You can see mind control into mind control.
That's right. It's like a.
有咩係 comeback 喎？
冇可能。冇啊！好似我對面啲牌又橙又紫
正紅。
正紅我都唔咩啊！
我玩親呢個。親王刷就好似而家 Tom 咁樣。
證明你唔啱玩咯。
又可以洗一波入去啦，洗。
I mean, I think Doc's got everything he needs.
撞完條蟲
Tom
洗
once
入
again
去。
will have to hope that he has Lich King or another Bone Mirror to bail him out. Even then, it's probably not.
左面洗入去咪得咯。條蟲七。嗰條蟲七 cost 大佬。
俾咯。因為高質量都唔俾。
七 cost 5啊，出嚟上冇怪啊！
添喎，
又唔使洗啊！
但佢精控完咪俾人精控翻，如果真係出狗肺條。
係㗎，咁點都要出㗎啦。
唉，真係慘。
你點知有精控啫？佢都
我都洗一波喊個樣。Double Trump.
From Zero Poison Mind, this has been complete domination.
我俾人 ban 添喎屌
Over the rest of his group so far, Doc Pone is crushing
No spam allowed. Warning. You are banned from chat when talking.
Leroy Shadow Step looks good, except when you realize, your opponent still has.
我係 Tom 真係咁頭殼。
Way more life.
Yeah, I mean, if
哇 ban 撚咗我20分鐘啊！
too far away. Yeah, enough board presence early on. Yeah, that's usually what you're looking for. Is the rogue coaster. Probably get the strange creatures able to, get some momentum.
Doc could just take it back too long. What do you think? That's my brief.
我想問嗰個 major 係佢寫19號咁，即係幾時？
Not really necessary, but
知唔知個時間係個CS 個 major？ 出單嗎
？19咪19啊！
你試下去精紅嗰啲咩啊？精紅啊！
精紅有3路咯
，3路，即係雞髀㗎嘛？
係啊，4、6支啊！
我哇！
Even a Leroy Shadow Step represents he goes wide in his board and tries to put
知 Tom 呢啲嘢咁正職嘅咧？
正職咪比賽咯，4選擇。
會真係全職啊！
全職先選擇嚟㗎。
好撚慘喎！屌全職咁樣樣，俾人打到一動都冇，呢啲真係黑到仆街啊！
佢有實況㗎嘛，實況幾千人睇。
但係唔係得羅傑多嘅啫咩？佢好似好少嘅啫。
方幾千㗎。
咁有冇人報尾嘅？我都有睇過啲集，好咩好冇乜娛樂性喎，佢嗰啲真係。
成技術咯。
成技術唔係羅傑嗰啲嘅，羅傑嗰啲真係好睇啊，我都睇嘅。
但係佢真係表演右手，我覺得佢真係好勁。咁你呢啲運氣
大家都出埋都係陰功。
啱㗎，佢好紅。
我佢隻眼你話佢眼神屌。
And a lot of this is just due diligence. You know, there's a case for Josh to be able to pick up one of these insanely powerful late game bugs, but that won't matter. 2-0 for Josh Bone as the Priest takes down the
三明震爆已經死咗。
三明震爆嗰個長水都狗啊！哇！屌啲 BM 肯定撲街下。
有效果啊！呢啲
係啊。再咩啊？天有眼
3-2。
即係仲要贏一場嘛？
贏多場倒插咯，可能三封嘅倒插咧。
好啊！加油加油！加油！追餐！屌仲釘緊，升唔起啊！
佢又冇 ban pack 啫嘛，
俾人 ban 咗 check， 都20分鐘啦，
睇人抽咪可以瞓覺。
My typical day at work, really unconventional. In the day I would have to take my car and go around the sector to make sure the activities are doing okay, everything is under control everywhere, and if there's problems and stuff, I kind of take care of it. I started playing chess when I was 5 years old, so I played chess for 15 years consecutively. The logic, systems, and all the mental toughness that you gain from being able to play a 6-hour match against strong opponents. Most of the things that helped me with my Hearthstone career is being with people, right? Have some fun with friends, have beer, and play some Hearthstone. So I started playing Hearthstone about 2 years ago, and at some point I started to get legend very quickly. But then I received an email from Victor saying that I was qualified for the preliminary. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know that it was my preliminary for fun at the beginning for a year and qualifying randomly to a tournament, and the last tournament I qualified to the top tournament went to Bahamas, and in the Bahamas did another top tournament where I am going to go. I've been putting much more hours than I ever did.
我已經有預感對面先17啦。如果差唔係7喎，可以係咩？
So that encouraged me a lot of trying to continue playing competitive Hearthstone because I feel like there's a lot more things that I can learn and that I have the potential to be a better player.
It's in 6th grade and class 2 29 members. In 6th grade, play more computer games. Yeah. If I'm not playing Hearthstone, maybe I will do that. It's really good. Favorite, I think it's me. Yeah. I think
Tom has surprisingly good English when he puts his head to it. He's been competing for many years now, but he's going to have to dig deep. He's down 0-2 up against Dapone, and he's going to turn to his Druid, trying to get the upset over Dapone's Temple Rogue. But Dapone's got, oh man, he's got the Prince Kalasep and the Shadow Step as the Stone Cold Nuts. That is a really, really strong draw already for Dapone. Oh, is it South? Yeah. So, that is, wow. If you were to construct a hand, yeah. If you were allowed to pick the 4 cards in your opening hand as a Tempo Rogue, that might be the 4-card opening hand. Yeah, we have a big Doc Bone fan, or maybe a Prince Kelsa fan in the audience as he cheered really loudly off of the South Sea Captain and Prince Kelsa synergy there. That is quite the fearsome start. Tom's got not a bad opening himself. He's got double wild growth, but he's trying to ram some powerful things. Or perhaps it's a more ram. What?
All the mana in the world and nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Cool if you had 10 mana growth, but you still have to answer a wall of crazy. Now, here's the thing, though. Dapone can continue to come up empty. We have seen Shadow Steps on Kalasep early on. But then Rogue draw things like Backstab, or very late game minions we can't play for 3 turns, 4 turns, and then end up whipping for while giving their horns to them.
And that does make the Backstab draw for him, right? Because it means that he has fewer air cards in his draw. He's debating whether he actually wants to perform out the ball stuff. Which I think is a little bit unusual, particularly with that he has If, for instance, he had a pirate hand, he has 20 on Kalasep, or a pirate hand on fire, get going. Speaking of Ram, there's Endurance. So he wants to ramp even more. Okay, well, Doc Bone has only dodged the 1 in 24 matches draw. He'll be smooth sailing. Jade Blossom, Jade Idol here does give Tom a pretty reasonable board. Not drop past here. Woo! That's a 10-10 win game. That's going to be a very large match.
A palm back
And if I've got fun, I'm going to think about tossing it back. So I can use my pressure to keep my board pressure as high as possible. But I am going into 6 mana, which is something I want to consider as well. Trading off the Kelsa is actually a bad idea if you're trying to play around. Pressure here, backstab, take down 2-2. I mean, would you even bother killing him?
4-4仲勁多隻船長。
真係死死。
So now autopilot, you want to think about every single interaction here. He's ramping his mana and his Jade. It's like turn 4 and he's got a 4/4 Jade on 8 mana critical. Yeah, I mean, overdraw.
佢會直接照埋4死㗎，唔使嘅。
double Kalasep plus Captain.
冇計啊。
Potentially one of them. He has Nourish to draw next turn. With 4 mana left over to potentially play a Swipe or something similar. Essentially swipe for, I guess you can't branch pass and use the spell.
Yeah, well, I mean, Doc Bone's ramping his pirates. He's at a 5 patches right now.
Bigger than Jade.
Yeah.
好嘔心啊！
以前嗰啲 T7 嚟根本就唔係乜嘢，而家呢啲先係跑嚟㗎。
用下彎唔進揮擊應該都走嘅。
唔係走遠啊，直接翻屋企。
But that is quite the reload. Backstab's a bad draw for Doc Bone too. Yeah, it doesn't actually.
但佢有0.5啊。終極温力，
嘛有啦，終極温力成一個。
知啊，我知啊，接中啊。
唔送。
Spellstone gets upgraded. Tyrant comes
我都係最3，有冇換安下去㗎啦？
最 top deck 咯。有冇自然化呢張牌？唔係有冇嗰個堆圖？冇唔會放。
嚟咗張044。
I mean, keeping the coin might have some value.
Coin is actually quite a valuable card to enable combos quite easily.
搞咁多成長
pick
啊
up an Elven Minstrel. It allows you to coin the Minstrel and have more mana to play the follow-up minions you draw.
Yes. And it's so much so that we've seen some temporary
成長都冇用，咁嘅。
kind of made its way a little bit in at the end of last year, before the expansion.
咪係咯，佢咩
冇牌。
一定用嘅喎，我一定用啊！
我都一定用。又唔係可以後面跳。
次次後面跳都係死咗啦。
你應該抽唔抽下？決定抽。
抽唔會咯，你得6個4 cost 之後。
抽鬼咩？抽4
槍之後你死咗啦。
唔係啊，講緊佢留 con 冇用啊。
留 con 有。
個 con 暗殺花，但係佢有背刺。
咁你 con 你嗰個成長都冇。
抽牌啦。
抽冇啊！抽唔到啊！
I mean, he's got a full board clear, guaranteed.
唔使諗啊，揮擊。同埋尋找出路。你唔係你着。跟住有揮擊。GGC 未打。
Absolutely turned this game around.
What happened? It was supposed to be a 3-0 double Keloseth buffs with the shadows.
個旁述話呢個10鋪係呢個 free 燒喎。
And all of a sudden, things have slipped away. Doc Bone with a couple of weak turns there. You know, he's talked about how you need to hit playing a swashbuckler in Nawagro. That's not what you want.
10冇喎。
Great and all.
What the fuck?
Was it too little, too late?
Just might be.
快出嚟嚇親人，10。
I've seen some crazy comebacks because of this card.
Oh yeah.
真係冇妖㗎啦。
Army of the Dead.
湯個樣嘅好嬲。
Counts the buffs on your minion.
尋找出路。放出有魔者有尋找出路加攻。換。
嗰張有咩用啊？4費㗎。
加1攻或者抽1張牌或者加6加2次。
咩叫加1攻啊？個人啊？
全部加1攻啊！
全部怪。另類嘅咆哮。
係另類嘅佢一 cost 嗰張。一 cost 嗰張。
收一個加工啦。
會加減。我唔差唔多。
亡靈大關
Yolo 值啊！哇5張，有咗個盾，
快幾多？
我掉翻，唔死咯。你等陣睇下就知啊。
This even represents counter lethal.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I said that the Lich King was good at comebacks.
Minions. One of which was a taunt, which he absolutely needed a charge minion.
Right, double charge minions.
賺
I mean, Tom has.
6世呢隻 game 真係好玩。我睇緊啲咩
呢場都幾誇張其實，我明大軍5隻，仲要衝鋒
湯都咬晒頭。
未輸未輸未輸，654。
湯話我睇緊啲咩究竟
兩個都
揞頭啊！大家都。
But he can play Ironwood Golem and he can develop Aya. Aya is so powerful. I think his Jades are at 5.
應該散步瘟疫㗎啦嘛。
散步瘟疫之後。
唔散喎。
So this is still kind of pushing that
YOLO
boundary here. Back over to Doc Bone. This is so much more tension. Tom sitting back.
湯就拗晒頭，我屌啊！我咁靚抽張輝擊都要輸。
咩特別咧？咁呢場？
幾手誇張，中間仲誇張。
5隻出嚟喎，表現有機會贏
贏咗啦，又唔殺法
，17咯
，14、19，差唔多㗎啦。你19仲要解唔到場啊，大佬！
打埋面咪20咯。
梗係唔打面啦，梗係4顆暗殺花啦。
I think the Bilespine in the 6/6
takes
off enough damage with the 2 taunt.
解唔到啦，湯完咗啦。
係啊，溫嘢。
實有春第一彎咧，有春用嘅。
黐線一彎可以改變世界，啱啱我大軍改變咗。
但係你問題你一彎之後你冇牌改變世界啊！你有咩牌可以改變世界啊？
但係就係嗰一張無妖王嗰張，一張已經
扭轉咗。
終極瘟疫都救唔到你。
綠色嘅屌，核突啊
真係。正。中瘟都救唔到。
啊，中嘅瘟疫係垃圾牌啊！呢個時候。
呢個時候一定係散步瘟疫啦。
啱啱好齊5場喎。誒，佢留一個位。
Jade Golem
太優質啦，嗰啲。
Not represent lethal here. Can only fight through 4.
喂，尷尬湯，唔係喎。
None of these minions individually represent.
直接火車頭炸雞，跟住就暗殺花。
炸雞叫火車王，
火車頭，炸雞暗殺花，跟住解撞面，跟住仲有71。誒，有機會喎湯。
Leroy and Bilespine here just is so strong. Further building out his board.
唔係
喎。定落啦，暗殺36啦。
All Scarabs are going to go down.
有機會咧，冇機會。
8-4啊，大雞，我條 hell。哦，全
解，咁就冇機會啦。
之後4-5當4-4。
憤怒啲咩可以救世界？
揮擊先有得贏好似，揮擊用晒咯。
尋晚佢抽到憤怒，揮擊
用晒啦。
憤怒死亡都冇死亡之翼啦。
死無啊！投咗啦。我選擇死亡。
我選擇死亡。散步瘟疫，哇！我睇緊啲咩啊？
散步瘟疫咩？
散步瘟疫啊 ！Oh my god！
Oh my god！
但我係湯會解一隻，咦唔係？
唔解，你解一下。
So tense. Tom is putting his head in his hands.
唔係啊，佢下彎都殺唔到佢。
字馬落一隻佢都知啊。
Bone Mares is Leroy attacks the other 4 minions. Lethal damage to Tom.
What the fuck 你全睇緊啲咩？
睇啲咩屌？
喊緊啦佢已經。
冇啊，Tom 輸咗啊！
sort of wild growth mid game, but then
點樣打6點傷害？
ramp as easily.
冇咯。
Full clear.
爭一滴。
星火場。
佢揾隻最多血嘅架盾。
星火場出咗星火術出嚟。
係啦，無啦啦唔知邊度變咗星火術出嚟。啊，睇下 Tom 有冇帶星火術啦。Tom 嘅秘武器星火術。
死咗啦！
Shoots the face, but he knows what that means.
如果佢啱啱面接嗰幾隻輸咗。
Dominates Group A and moves on to the quarterfinals. And that was a game that looked like it was going to be an absolute
fight.
It turned into one of the most dramatic games we have.
啟動。
冇啊，冇放喺
度。嗰個發射蛇可唔可以打面㗎？
可以啊。
哦 shit， 真係慘啊！唉，拖唔嘅。
揸敵真係。
唔知睇咗啲乜撚嘢。
你喺對面真係死褲碌仔啊！對面咁褲碌冇計㗎真係，天選。Tom 都已經好似0-15，算係0-15，都係俾人穿衫。
Tom 仲有打 Orange 㗎，係咪啊？即係打贏埋 Orange 都可以過。
小組賽計分嘅啫嘛，頭2名出線咯。
嚇，仲有分添啊！
你小組賽16個人嘛，頭8名出線8強，啩？其實我唔知啊，交我嘅啫。
So
What is it?
That machine had some pretty weird things to say, huh? It's almost like it had actual emotion.
The machines don't have feelings. You said that yourself.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh shit！
點解你隻 Automata 係男人嚟嘅？
咩 Automata 啊？
話邊個？趁黃暗閃南海船隻。要兩隻船。
This thing? It does seem off, but I've never seen a machine. It might be worth.
黐線嗰個搣多啊，邊有可能俾你咁樣 boost 到啊？放對面。
睇呢邊。
佢跳嗰個，佢 low turn 跳 mid box 有冇技巧㗎？就咁跳㗎？
就咁跳咯，冇技巧。
Need help finding teammates to perform all these crazy tricks? Try dreamteam.gg.
難，其實都好難調個位。
What? Oh, there are no.
Huh. So why don't the machines, or the aliens who created them,
佢24嗰個真係射得到啊！
They originally came here from outer space, right?
Well, there are a few theories about that, but no one knows
佢
for
射
sure.
到喎，屌
Hard
啊
to！tell what an
我諗
alien
住佢
is
企喺斜坡會
thinking, you know?
歪啊！
但係嗰個位都睇到㗎，其實人哋都
睇到，但係你係啊，得咁假，跟住冇乜分別。
你 RAM 都係睇都係特淨係特個頭㗎啦。
佢呢個掌聲有幾好？
呢個咩啊？
佢呢個掌聲，
佢有橙黃色一粒點。
係啊，梗係唔好啦點？
你唔知自己左咗定右咗喎，有時。
你 scream 都用一粒點㗎啦
，scream 啊嘛。
19又可以筆咗佢嘅，屌啊 ！CSO 嚟嘅，佢得19。我睇呢啲咩啊？真係。
上有鬼用咩？真係冇用㗎。
我17疊羅漢添。
呢啲 boost 真係有少會做。
17種懶嘢啊！
係咪入筆啊？都望唔到㗎。
喂，射到嘢喎，好似係 A shot 嘅喎。
哦，即係咁都射到。
真係筆嚟㗎，佢望嗰度係世界外面。
咁都穿到。
垃圾 game 真係。
我覺得幾有趣啲人發掘呢啲位。
我哋單唔單到 replay 啊？
單到。
我單唔到啊，完全。
係咪咩選位啊？
係啊，條條都選位啊。
如果佢再咁鬼差唔得㗎。
都唔得。
你冇錯，撳咗幾次啊？
我呢個電槍掉可以轉門嘅睇到啊！而家先睇到。
即係掉落對門後面會執到啊？
係啊。A 浪個好似勁 ，boost 上再 boost。
有春用嘅。
喺 A 浪嗰個。
房裏面 push 出嚟啊！
唔係啊，佢可以打咗 A 浪個 offer。
第幾個啊？
第13。
瞄到你都俾人射死咗。
你睇唔到啊，不過你有縮，對面未必會就咁睇住咯。
真係好選位啊！咦，唔係唔好彩喎，我覺得有問題。
唔係你要睇邊場？
過去嗰幾場。
單睇睇啊！
而家唔知連續落7日就送1票。
送1日俾人，得。
我留意聲就啲拎住我有我嗰啲。
冇 睇我 Twitch 嗰條咪得咯。
哇！屌無端，屌無端天花板跌撚咗隻曱甴落嚟，死咗個仲要。
The records claim humans covered their crotches as they went about their business. Revealing one's genitals was seen as problematic. So just be quiet and wear them already.
Okay. But why are we
乜撚
eating
嘢
this
嚟㗎呢
plant
隻？
matter? Machines don't need to eat things like this.
This
喂，
is
好
a
撚恐
type
怖，
of
白色
fruit.
㗎喎。
Our data suggests that mankind gained great intelligence from consuming fruit. So quit griping and eat it already.
All right. If that's what you want. But once we're done, can we play together for a bit?
Fine.
Oh, great. Then I'll eat lots of fruit.
They all have white flags.
Looks like they really don't want to fight.
Hello, before we are
2B.
iron welded poster receptacle.
We can get into the city ruins if we move that box.
Operator 210 to 9S. This is your regularly scheduled contact. I have something important to discuss with you today.
What is it?
Our maintenance team filed a complaint about how you treat your flight. They requested that you cease making unauthorized modifications.
Well, I kinda had to. There's so much excess data sent to me from the satellite, it's delaying aim correction.
If you have a rebuttal, you need to discuss it with maintenance. Fight it out if you must. Operator 210 out.
Jeez. My operator's more prone to violence than I thought. transmitting to us directly.
Now do you believe we're not a threat?
Your mouth can say anything it wants, but you still don't have a heart.
I suppose that's technically accurate. Yes, well, you're free to visit our village whenever you like.
你仲有冇睇啊？大家好。
冇。
What's that noise?
Operator to 9S. Emergency transmission incoming. We've detected a Goliath-class enemy inside the city ruins. It seems to be accompanied by a large number of machine life forms. All Yorha members are ordered to engage at once.
A Goliath? This was a trap. I knew it!
I promise you, we were not aware of this information. I realize the odds of you believing me are strikingly low, but I hope you will nonetheless.
We'll sort it out later. Let's go.
Operator 210 here. Do you read me? Operator to 9S. I have bad news and I have good news. Bad first. We've confirmed the presence of 2 Goliath-class heavy weapon enemies.
2 of them?
Now, the good news. We've used your previous Goliath combat data to analyze the enemy. And it seems we have identified a weakness. Command has modified a firing unit based on this new intel. It's been installed on a pair of flight units that are heading your way.
It's your R&D for you.
checked your map data. Operator out.
Thanks, Operator. 2B, Command is deploying new flight units for us. They just sent the coordinates, so let's get going.
On.
The flight units should be on the roof of that building up ahead. It'll be dangerous, but we're not going anywhere unless we pass through that Goliath's legs. We should be careful.
Anti-air defenses are on patrol at higher altitudes. A low-altitude approach is recommended.
Got it, thanks.
Target enemies offline. That should do it for the Goliaths.
Look out! It's recharging!
Enemy vibrations were growing in intensity. It's resonating in tandem with the area beneath the combat zone.
What the?
Unbelievable.
馬牛你得唔得閒啊？你 send 嗰啲 replay 嗰啲 link 俾我。
Circle's not in the deck, so there's very limited options actually for Dragon Priest
你 send 啲
Dragon
replay 嗰
Highlander,
啲
should I
link
say,
俾我。
to actually get there. Right now, there's the Drake and the
右上角
Dragonfire.
撳個複製連結。
Dragonfire would have to be literally there
我
on
真係全
turn
部
6,
corrupt。
and it isn't.
如果你 send 咗都 corrupt 嘅，我哋洗咗嚟嘅。
So the board
This
said
is your
Dragonfire,
commander.
whether you buff it
For
or
the
not.
first time
No
in
point wasting
centuries,
it.
Shadow and Horror intercepted a signal belonging to the
有呢嗰
enemy.
隻，全部啊
These are the
有喎嗰
creatures
啲
that
係。
are in direct command of the machine life
佢
force
嘅好
on
似
this
場場都
planet.
有你。
If we can
睇下
destroy
自己
them,
點打，睇下你哋點
as long as
There
armed
is
with war
7
once
Then
and
pay
for
staring
all.
back on the
Our
board,
intel
plus the
team is
Savage
hard
Roar is
at work
8 more, plus
attempting
the
to
Power of the
analyze
Wild
the
is
source of
3
the
more.
signal, but
That
we're not
looks
there yet.
good
啱啊！
enough
你有
to
有
me.
有
More
link
data.
俾條
All
link。
your
Just
units
copy
are
wasn't
hereby
quite
ordered to
enough. Even
prioritize
next turn, there
data
could have been
collection
Profit
above
Balance
all
and
else.
Heal, which I'm sure
We
Muzzy
can't
was
let
thinking
this
about.
chance
Who is
slip
that
through our
shooting
That
fingers.
turn 8, but turn 8 was not reached by Muzzy. Samuel Zhao is going to even it up, go 1-1. His aggro druid, suddenly, at the end of the day, maybe they're not morning. Maybe they're not morning
佢屌
people.
條 link 好似
At the
撚
end of the
樣，
day, they seem to wake
我
up
一撚
and get
樣
the
唔
job
使
done.
啦。
Way underground.
Guess
But yeah,
we'll
that
see
was
once we get
almost the
只可
dream
以照
drop
cop 嘅，
for
照
back
cop 先至玩。
He had a couple of minions, he got them down, and then he just chain bombs.
佢跟
He
個
just
戰
kept
局分享
increasing the
埋㗎
stats
嘛。
on his dudes
係啊，
until
一
the
撚
other
樣
guy
屌
blew.
嘅。
That is aggro druid 101 right there, and Muzzy just didn't have the speed to deal with it essentially. The dodge of the
你 cop 定你 cop 完出嚟，我洗 game 都可以睇，會睇得到嘅點解？
kind of answer you want
你咁
to
嘅？
negate the Dustbreaker. Muzzy
好單
had
到
a great
喎，
opening
你
hand
咁
that
嘅？
could get a lot of the job done, but
明明都係大
wasn't
家都同一
quite
場
enough.
單到喎。
Someone's out evening it up, looking good for him.
Certainly is. And what a story it would be if after day 1, our 2 players that got out would be the only 2 players that anyone would dare describe as an underdog in this entire field.
That would be kind of nuts.
Because no one else is even close that you could put in that bracket. Even if you were really, really reaching to find something interesting to say on a Hearthstone broadcast, for example, you wouldn't even get anywhere near calling
I've never been
anyone
in that
else
situation. What are you talking
in
about?
this tournament an underdog.
No, it's absolutely. I mean, Admiral was heavily joking earlier, but it's like, oh yeah, between these players, there's like 50 World Championship performances,
Right.
and you know everyone's been to HCT or played in playoffs a million times between them all. But you know, again, you know, Dark Samurai Zhao, not quite the same story, but it could be one hell of a story for these guys if they do continue to push through and make it. But let's get into game number 3. It's going to be the rogue on rogue action. I do kind of like this mirror.
Elaborate.
It reminds me a lot of old Zoo mirrors, maybe even current Zoo mirrors, depending on the builds, but just of how ruthless you have to be with board control.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else matters. There are a few heavy swing cards, like if you can get a cheap file spine off, and by cheap I mean backstab coin, for example, cheated file spine almost,
Yes.
then that can really flip things on its head. But then you have Corridor Creeper to kind of go backwards on that as well. So there's a lot of topsy-turvy moments in this matchup, and I do quite enjoy it. And I will say that both players playing slightly different lists as well. Muzzy bringing Sun, I absolutely love. That card is amazing.
I am
think it's
also
amazing.
a fan of the Sonya.
My #1 card prediction from the expansion, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I put it #1. I thought the effect, especially the way Rogue looked, Tempo Rogue, was insane. Like, almost all the cards do something.
Yep.
Whether they're a 5/5 or a 1/1, it just
Right.
doesn't matter. Like, they get work done.
We saw earlier on today, like, it didn't do much more than just make a bunch of 1/1 Saranite chain gangs, but like that was good
Pretty
enough.
good,
And that's
yeah.
not even one of the targets that you'd list high up there as
Bone
being high
Mare,
synergy.
File Spine, you know, Van Cleef, even Keleseth.
Keleseth.
Keleseth on 2 into Sonya trade is
Yeah.
so funny. You just got no game versus this. It's insane.
Let's see how it goes for these guys, though. Samu Zhao off to the old swashbuckler start. Muzzy a bit slower, but he does have the corridor creeper, so even Samu Zhao going wide with these potential smaller minions is only kind of doing Muzzy a favor.
By the way, did you see earlier Kalento's play around opening the corridor creeper? It was very nice.
Remind me.
I think there was an Edwin in play for his opponent, and he had a bunch of small dudes, and he just traded in enough so that if there was a corridor creeper in the opponent's opening hand, it was 1 mana too expensive to be able to be played.
Okay, I have a question.
It was really nice.
Now, well, I've got a question now, if you can remember. Did Kalento have a creeper in hand?
Himself?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Ah, okay. If he did that, without his own creeper to reference,
sure, yeah,
like that would be insane, because that gets very difficult to do on top of hand tracking and everything else. But yeah, it's very much like the Arcane Giants, right? You can just calculate
the Yogg tracker.
Yeah, the Yogg tracker used to just be Arcane Giants. It's like, oh, what mana is this? Okay. But yeah, even plays like that are actually just insane. It really marks all of these players out as quite exceptional. He's going to go wide. These minions. He's going to opt out of the hero power trade, for example. Just going to drop as much onto the board as possible. Muzzy now with the South Sea captain and choice of SI7 agents. He has a flurry of 3 drops to play if he so desires.
So these two hands from these two players are the kind of hands that I actually really enjoy watching this matchup play out as well. They both have solid hands. They both have tempo options with stuff like SI and South Sea Captain pulling patches. But neither of them has the blowout. You know, like it's something where, as you said, you are just going to have to ruthlessly fight for board control back and forwards. And at some point, someone is going to make an inspired play or someone is going to make a mistake. And that is going to cost them the entire game. They are going to go tumbling down the mountain very quickly off the back of one small error.
And that's what I like about it. It's like there can even be one dagger hit wrong. Yep. One dagger usage wrong. The hit might be great, but the fact you used the charge might be wrong. You know, these tiny things. I actually thought to myself as soon as I said that I actually did that a little bit, but it's quite a joke. Yeah, no one knows, it's fine. But yeah, those tiny moves make the biggest difference, and now both players have a corridor creeper to play around with.
The other card that we, I guess, really haven't touched on in terms of Muzzy's deck being a little unique is Cold Bloods, which were definitely, they were ever present in the deck when it first appeared and first rose to dominance, but disappeared fairly quickly afterwards, and Muzz is choosing to run them back again. I know Darek has mentioned that this is actually one of his favorite cards. He just says it feels good when you play it, and I kind of agree with him. There's just nothing like the feeling. Sticking Cold Blood on something, hitting them in the face, and then they can't deal with it, and then you get to hit them again.
It used to be the old, like the old conceal days, right? Just like Cold Blood, a Tomb Pillager on 5, and just hit them and conceal, and you'd be like...
That was just unfair, but, you know.
It still felt good, though, if you were the one swinging.
Yeah.
I did think you were going to say, so I know Darek was telling me that Muzzy used his list, and... But I was like, oh, really?
Yeah. Darek Brown, muse to the stars.
Wouldn't surprise me, funnily enough.
It would surprise me a lot.
Anyway, back to current live. SI7 agent number 1 was used by Muzzy. Doesn't really have anything too crazy to do this turn in terms of any super power plays here.
Well, he still has his patches, so the South Sea Captain is actually very, very nice this turn, allowing him to pick up a couple of value trades right off the bat.
It's all right. Feels very nice. He could have, enough money inside to play the creeper as well.
Damn you, greedy! Yeah. All right.
Said earlier though, Valspine is often a huge swing in this matchup because you're playing effectively even games, right? So if there's an activator, which good job timing, there is now with Shadow Step, this Valspine could get some work done going forward.
Right. I like decision from Muzzy. Trading into the technically worse minion on the board, because the 1/2 doesn't have any particular breakpoints here. It would have to be something fancy to take care of the South Sea captain, and then it could pick up a value trade into a 1/1 patches for it to be an impact, whereas there are 2 South Sea captains still remaining, Samuel Sao.
Yeah.
You just drop that, trade in with the buffed up patches. That's a much bigger deal and a much more likely scenario. So Muzzy divines that it is much more worth playing around than just the obvious play in front of him.
Yeah, and this is one of the kind of a strange play. I do wonder if the Shadow Step's going to come down on a 1/2. Just to be able to guarantee an activation on the Valspine next turn. If you don't and the board's clean, then, well, great, that's your only, you've got to rely on drawing what backstab next turn. And that is a scary moment to be one extra turn behind when you could have flipped the board in your favor next turn guaranteed. So it will be very interesting what Samuel Sao does. I think Shadow Stepping at the right time is vital with this deck. Okay, time to go for it. Oh, he's relying on the Corridor Creeper, right?
Yeah, the quote-unquote punish, though, from the trade into the patches instead of the Flame Elemental does happen, and now Muzzy is leaving himself slightly outnumbered on the board. And I did like your zoo analogy earlier, because the zoo mirror was quite often less decided by who had the most total stats in play, more so who had the most individual bodies in play.
Actual attacks.
Right, and that is very often true of this mirror as well, unless suddenly a Bone Mare comes down and then there's just a huge taunt in the way that needs to be dealt with.
It's about Spinal Burst.
Right, a lot of the time having more options, more flexibility with a range of minions means you're ahead, even if your opponent has 1 or 2 larger individual minions on their side.
So here, for example, Sonya could come down. There could be a trade into the SI, then replay the 1/1 SI to kill off the 1/2 and just leave a 1/1 on the board. And that wouldn't leave too much on the board itself, though, in terms of threats, as Sonya is a threat due to its ability, not her chunky 2/2 stats. So he's just going to go for the kill and get his own Corridor Creeper down, but look at this turn. I like it.
Yeah, and this is the point that you just about led into at the end of last turn, is that the Shadow Step was not a big concern, because Samuel Sao knew it was almost certain he'd have a 0-mana Corridor Creeper to play this turn to activate as well.
Yeah, even if Muzzy ignored all his minions, he just trades his own minions in. So it's definitely a tough thing to play around and play against its Corridor Creeper. Also, looking now, they're really obvious Shadow Steps, things like Leroy, right, you know, for the damage. But even Shadow Stepping, one of the best ones I've seen is Chain Gang. Like, if you Shadow Step that and get a lot of value out, it's 2 mana, generate additional minions. It's normally better a bit earlier on when you're doing the small trades. So
I think Shadow Step Chain Gang is pretty overrated, to be honest. I think it's a desperation play, and it should be reserved for a desperation play. I think you're sorely overrated in a lot of situations. Yeah. I think it should be reserved for a desperation play in a lot of spots, because actually the total value you're getting out of it is not that high.
Okay, it's going to be on the Valspine to combo with one of the other minions Samuel Sao has in hand next turn. I say one of the other minions, Captain, sorry, Valspine's obviously 3 mana when you Shadow Step it, so this is also good. Valspine is just good. It's just a good card.
Yep.
Gets the job done, especially when you know you can combo it next turn.
Is it time for Sonya to get some work done?
I believe so. Fortunately, there's no dagger equipped.
Right.
Sonya could get even more work done. You can trade away the deckhand if it could charge. Patches is gone for Muzzy, right?
Yes.
That's also a funny one I've done before. Been like 10 mana.
Sure.
It was just trade. Oh, it's dead. Trade. Oh, it's dead. Replay. Trade. Oh, it's dead. There we go. Might only be a 1/1, but a 1 mana 1/1 that deals 2. Pretty good card in my book.
Now we are stampeding into those Bone Mare turns, where the first real break point in terms of punishes for losing board control really come down. Neither player has the Bone Mare available to them just yet, but Muzzy is looking like he might be more likely to hang around on the board, although this Saronite is going to have something to say about it.
Yep, just leaving the 1 minion there that even if Bone Mare comes down, then oh no, there is the Valspine. You can go 2 ways as well. You could say, oh, if you Valspine everything off the board, then the Valspine's still there, you can trade it and use it to keep the board clear. Or you could just wait till he commits a bone mare and then just guarantee kill him. Leroy, though, not really super helpful in this instance. Is this actually just a board play with the Cold Blood and the Valspine? Ugh. I mean, I think ugh sums it up, but can you make any better noises with any better players?
It's a very good question. You're trying to win the game of Valspine Chicken here because you know your opponent Shadow Step their Valspine.
Imagine a hybrid of a Valspine and a Chicken. That would be a scary minion.
But, you know, essentially in a matchup like this, like, he who tempo swings last, tempo swings hardest. So if you go with your Valspine and then just get your Valspine by them afterwards, you have come out very much behind in that exchange. So I think Muzzy would love not to do that. It's just a question of whether he irreversibly loses the board if he makes any other play.
He's going to hold the Valspine, use the activators, though. So now Valspine much less flexible in Muzzy's hand, but I guess the odds on him drawing a playable card is still relatively high next turn. By playable, I mean playable with Valspine. Oh, it's actually relatively low. He only has 2 mana to mess with.
Yeah, he has 9 outs of his remaining 19. So, yeah, 50-50 region.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Now, the hand's looking almost mirrored at this point.
Actually, no, it's worse than that because 2 of those outs are Shadow Step.
我冇人呢場比賽。
Have a target.
Just a little bit bad next time.
Yeah, not bad.
I wonder whether you just Leroy and go there.
Of course, the counter argument. I mean, Bone Mare kind of puts it to task. But if you were to draw an expensive card in that situation, you'd be relatively happy. Let's say you just drew Tar Creeper, right? And your turn was just Tar Creeper here to contest this. You're fine with that anyway, right? So the argument for that kind of turn is if I draw a cheap activator for the Valspine, I need to Valspine. I have outs to do that. Otherwise, I can just draw like a mid-sized chunky minion that I can just drop anyway.
One of the issues is one of the cards Muzzy would really like, I imagine, would be Minstrel. But he couldn't combo Minstrel either. Right. So I don't know, maybe the Valspine was just the thing there. Maybe the Cold Blood Valspine, it got him a minion on the board.
I still don't like it.
It kept an activator.
I don't know what your plan was after they Valspine you back. I really don't.
Just draw Minstrel.
Sure.
And then I'm probably like, I don't know, you have the deck hand, it's not bad. Maybe I'm just thinking of the bad memories on ladder where this happens to me. Where I'm like, okay, I'll draw an activator next turn, Bone Mare, and then Bone Mare again. I'm like, no, please. I do like this though. Get the Leroy down, try and force some kind of dagger trade. Do you Valspine? I don't dislike it at this point. You're way ahead in pressure.
Right.
And again, there has to be... Muzzy has one deckhand that would like heavily punish the like deckhand into Bone Mare is like a scary thing. There still aren't that many cards that would combo that well with Valspine. I don't know. I think just playing it here is fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you push face for this one, go set to 13, and then Valspine the 1/1, then you would have, what, 9, 10 damage in play, 12, but you'd have 13 the next turn, so you would actually set up lethal with that play.
And also, Samuel Zhao still has 2 Bone Mares in his deck. Like, how realistically is Muzzy going to kill all 3 minions? Like, not very without taking a lot of damage. There's the Minstrel, called it. Minstrel's in his deck, and he had the chance to draw it.
I wonder.
1 mana off. It's pretty much nothing Samuel Zhao can do, and now here's the combo. Valspines to spare at this point. 9 damage, play a 3/4 that sticks on the board, the 2/1's on the board, the Leroy's still on the board. Muzzy has nothing on the board. Yeah. And he can't even draw with Minstrel, because he's probably, you know, at least in the immediate future, thinking Minstrel into Valspine, not the other way around, because Leroy will have to die. I'm sure the Leroy video is like 15 years old this year or something.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Correct, it was from WoW. World of Warcraft.
Good.
I wonder.
Yusao does always impress me as a newcomer. Like I said, I've had some criticisms with his actual lines of play, but he always looks very composed, and he is a considered player even to a fault at times. We've seen him rope out this tournament because he wants to consider every possible thought that comes into his mind, but the majority of the time, I think playing at such a slow pace probably does help him. He just needs to learn when animations are animations, and he needs to get on with his turn a little bit.
Yeah. That's the thing as well, as Samuel Zhao does take the win there over Muzzy. Muzzy kind of ended up in a bit of a deep hole there he couldn't get out of. But yes, Samuel Zhao, like among most of the other players, have said, kind of just don't want to mess up in the World Championships. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to make a silly play. There's probably the most people that are watching at any given point for this tournament. Biggest tournament of all these players' career. Don't want to mess up, and I think Samuel Zhao might just be one extra thin layer that's like, I'm just going to take an extra few seconds here, even though my options are limited. The plays are, you know, A or B, so...
And again, it speaks to him, again, bringing Zoo, as we talked about before. He doesn't want to mess up with any of his decks, and there is a man who has not been messing up too much so far, because there is the one